The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
My name is Jasmine, and I am a recovering drug addict.
My name is Richie Farrell, aka the Old White Junkie.
And we are your hosts for Exit Team Nashua.
Our mission is to bring recovery into the living room.
Last year, over 72,000 Americans died of an accidental overdose.
That's almost 200 Americans every single day.
We will bring you guests with real-life experiences with addiction and recovery. Welcome to Exit Team Nashua.
Welcome everybody to Exit Team Nashua. My name's Jessie and I will be your host this evening. Tonight in the studio we have my best friend's boyfriend. This is Eric Nelson. Welcome, Eric.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming tonight.
No problem.
Filling the spot for me.
Yes, ma'am.
I love having people in the studio that I don't know their story. So it's very exciting to have you here and to get to know you a little bit better.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, it's about time, right?
Yes, it is.
We should have done this a while ago.
It is about time.
So I know that you are 5 years in recovery?
6 years, actually, yeah.
6 years.
Yeah.
Wow, it's a long time. So you got sober pretty young.
I did. I got sober at 22.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Awesome. So why don't you, tell us a little bit, we obviously want to hear your story and what it was like for you, where you grew up in
Salisbury Beach.
Salisbury Beach.
Salisbury Beach, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was.
So you grew up right on the beach?
I grew up a mile from the beach. Behind, it's kind of part of my story, so I'll bring it up. So I grew up behind a motel.
Okay.
In a trailer park.
Okay.
And, that kind of was like the fuel to like, you know how like they say you have like the isms and the symptoms before you actually pick up like a drink or like a drug or anything like that. And I kind of like, I kind of took the stereotype of like living in the trailer park. I felt less than at an early age, and I kind of, ran with that. That was like the beginning to like my, drug and alcohol usage.
Right, right.
Mm-hmm.
So you just like, felt like you didn't fit in?
Exactly. Yeah, I felt like I felt less than because I grew up like Salisbury is a nice town.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But there's just like a little section where I grew up in, where like next door the big nice houses, and then over there's nice houses, and then there's where I live.
Right.
So I didn't really get.
So you grew up like in some poverty?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. So when did you start, using substances and?
I actually started like a little late. I would consider late because everyone around so I started when I was 16. I started I smoked weed for my first time at 16, and I loved that and
so that was the first thing that you...
First thing I ever did was smoke weed.
Okay.
Yep. I remember the day like it was yesterday. Yep. Then I started drinking. And it's funny because before I did any of that, I always told myself like I would never drink. I would never smoke weed. My parents drank a lot, and I hated it so much. I hated it. So I'd always tell myself that I would never do it. And the time came when I wasn't fitting in anymore because I didn't drink and because I didn't smoke. So like the pressure, the peer pressure, not feeling like I fit in again. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that really started. It was I just wanted to to fit in.
Yeah. So 16, smoking weed, and then you started drinking.
Started drinking. Yeah.
So was it like a weekend thing?
It was like I was talking about this the other day. It was like the day that I first drank, like I made it like an event. Like I woke up that morning, I was like, I'm gonna drink my first beer and it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be amazing. And it was, and the thing was, it was exactly what I thought it was gonna be. It made me fit in. It made me feel good.
Yeah.
It made me, you know what I'm saying? Everything that I felt like I wasn't, it made me feel like it.
Yeah.
So a one-time thing turned into a weekend thing, which turned into a, maybe not everyday drinking, but if I wasn't drinking, then I was smoking. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So did weed give you the same effect, like, or was it different?
It obviously it was a little bit different, but it was the same thing because
Yeah.
I could smoke weed and then I could fit in with the people that smoke weed. You know what I'm saying? Then I could, and when I was drinking, I could fit in with the people that drank, and vice versa. And yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, like that feeling like that you had it like so built up in your mind, right?
Yeah.
And then it was exactly like that.
Yeah.
So do you think you drank to excess that time?
Yeah, for my first, I don't remember how much I drank. I remember drinking a beer and getting buzzed.
Yeah.
And I was like, why haven't I done this?
Like, this is it.
This is it. This is why my parents drink. This is why my older brother drinks. This is why my friends drink. I'm like, this is it. I've arrived to the spot where I want to be.
Right.
You know, and yeah, yep.
So that must have been like a really, I just like feel bad for little Eric, you know what I mean? Like, you know, that's, you know, I don't want to do this because I've seen what it did to my parents, you know, and like, it just goes to show how much like our peers can really have effect on us, you know what I mean? Because say you had a peer group, you know, in my experience too, that other people were like on that bandwagon also, right?
Yeah.
Like, who knows? But obviously that wasn't the story, and it's not the story for most of us, right? So, right.
Exactly.
So did you end up, you know, graduating from high school? What did that end up looking like for you?
So not long after I took my first drink and like started smoking, I you know, I want to take that next step. I just didn't want to smoke weed. I wanted to sell weed because I wanted to fit in with those kids.
Right.
You know, I was always, and even as a young, I was always looking for more. You know what I'm saying? Like, same with me using, always looking for more. So when I was young, I was like, all right, I smoke weed. This feels awesome. I see the older kids like selling me weed. Like, I want to sell weed now.
Right.
So, you know, when I was 16, I started like, it was not like nothing crazy. I wasn't like a big time drug dealer or anything like that. I was just selling weed in school because I was trying to, you know, be cool. And I got, you know, I got caught selling weed, and it was a big thing in school. The police came and this and that, and I ended up getting expelled at 16.
No.
Yeah.
Did you get arrested too?
I got arrested, yeah.
In
16,
school?
in school, yeah. And it was so like pity, but the thing that went with it was like my behavior in school. I didn't behave. I didn't, you know, because I had all the symptoms, like I said, before using. So I was very disobedient. I didn't listen.
Right.
I had to be, you know, I had to be that kid in class doing stupid stuff so I could get the attention.
Right.
So I could feel like part of
Even that negative attention.
it. Even the any type of attention, it fills the void. You know?
I was like that too, like extreme, like negative attention, because I wasn't getting a lot of attention at home and stuff. So then it was like, okay, now I found the negative attention, and it feels good to get some attention. Right?
Exactly. Anything.
Yeah. So wow, expelled at 16, huh? So that was it? I mean, I just like, you didn't find another school?
Yeah, like I think it was because like I said, my behavior was so bad at the time. You know, I would blame my parent, like after I got expelled, and for years after, I blamed my parents for not, you know, like bringing, like, why didn't you put me in another school, this and that. But like now to take a look at self and to see how I acted, I was like, I was going to get kicked out of like any school I went to.
Right.
Because like, just because it wasn't the school's fault, it was my fault.
Right.
For the way I was behaving, what I was doing, you know.
So, what did you end up doing at 16 when you?
So at 16, I got kicked out of school, you know, and obviously it was like it was a blew up, you know. I wasn't allowed to do this. I was grounded type of thing, and you know, and it only could last like so long because my parents had to work.
Yeah.
Life still went on. My little sister had to go to school. My brother was still going to school, so it was like I kind of like, you know, I was just sitting there.
You just did what you want, probably.
Exactly. So I ended up, you know, I started those kids that I wanted to be like. I started hanging out with them, and it's selling weed and smoking weed and drinking turned into, like it started with the perk 30s, and it went from weed and drinking to pills.
Yep.
And it was just made like I was off running.
Those damn perk 30s.
The perk 30s, yeah, it was
They get
horrible.
everyone. Yeah. So how old were you when the pills came around?
It was right when I got kicked out of school, so probably like
16.
16 and a half to
Oh, yeah.
like 17 years old.
So did you develop a habit right away?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. It was because there was a lot of feeling, like me getting kicked out of school. There's a lot of feelings inside I had about it because at the time, like I thought it was the coolest thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, people are gonna think this and that. I got expelled from school, but inside I was hurt. You know what I'm saying? Because I knew better.
Yeah.
I just didn't act on it, and so that I had to I started not. That not fitting in and not liking myself started to grow more and more after that, because I'm like, I'm dumb. I'm not smart enough for school, this and that. My parents don't think I'm smart enough. That's why they didn't bring me to school. And those, I think, when I started using more heavily and switched to the pills, I think that I started heavily because I think it was to mask those emotions that I was feeling. At a young age. I didn't know what it was at the time, but looking back, I can see what really fueled it,
Right. Like the shame.
Yeah, the shame and the guilt and
remorse and stuff. Yeah.
Because once you, my parents weren't perfect. I'm not perfect. My parents weren't perfect, but things get said back and forth.
Yeah.
Like I say things to them, they say things to me, in the in a heated moment.
Yeah.
And those, it would stick with me, and I'd be like, I'm not a good son, just all that stuff, like you said.
Yeah. So perk 30s, and then tell us a little bit about the progression from there.
So really, it, like I said, the perk 30s, it started, first I seen kids doing it and they were selling it, and they were doing it, so that's why I started doing it, and I wanted to sell them and I wanted to be cool like that, and it was just like it was just like it was like the first time I drank a beer, but intensified by 50. I sniffed the perk and I'm like, I thought drinking, I arrived when I first had my first drink. I'm like, no, this is it right now. This is the most amazing thing I've ever found in my life. And it sounds crazy. Regular people might be like, oh, that's crazy to think. Why would you even think that?
Right.
But the feeling it gave me, I felt I really just felt.
Well, and the thing about the pills, too, you can probably relate to this, is it's like you drink and you're drinking. So you have to keep drinking, you probably have to go somewhere and hide it, and then you can't really go about your day because you're drunk.
Exactly.
The perks, you just sniff one or pop one, and
I was like Superman. I was running around cleaning my room, filling out job applications, planning my whole future out in one day. Just crazy stuff, you know. And escalated very, very quickly. It got very bad.
Yeah. And those it gives us that false courage, right? And that false hope and all of that. So it got bad quickly.
Yes.
What did that look like? Did you progress into heroin, or was
not right away. It was perk 30s, and then I started hanging out with a group of kids, a little you can call it a little hometown gang, right? And then I joined that, in the perks, it gave me false ego,
right?
And I was living in a different reality. Honestly, I just wasn't there. I was so brainwashed by the people I was hanging out with and all that stuff. I just, it led into doing perks, and then, getting in trouble, committing crimes, and then selling drugs. Then the perks, I needed to get up, so I started doing coke.
Yep.
And then the kids I was hanging out with were selling coke, and that little perk 30 just turned into this huge bubble of misery, honestly. And just a whole a whole lot of just stupid stuff. You know?
So I don't know what it was like for you when you started with the perks, but like I didn't know that I was like addicted to an opiate. Like I didn't know what that was. Did you have any idea when you first started messing with them?
I think like where I grew up, there was a lot of like drug use, not like per se in my family. Like my family drank a lot, but like the people that lived around me, there was a lot of drug use. So I knew a little bit of it. I didn't know the extent.
Right.
So when I was doing it, I knew the possibilities of what could happen, but I definitely didn't think it would ever happen to myself.
Right. I'm gonna be different.
Oh,
like,
I'm the different one. Like
Right.
this isn't happening to me. I'm better than
Right.
like
I can control it.
yeah, because the ego's crazy. It'll tell you that you're worth like you're less than, but at the same time, like when the
You're
drugs.
better than.
When I'm doing the drugs, I'm better than now. You know what I'm saying?
Egomaniac with an inferiority
Yeah,
complex.
exactly.
Yeah, it's the definition of all of us, right?
Yeah.
So it did progress to heroin for you.
Yes,
Yeah.
it did.
And how old were you?
I think I was like around 18. One of my buddies who I was really close with, we were living at his house, and the police raided the house, and they came in. He left that morning, so it was just us. It was me and a couple of my buddies were staying there. We were selling drugs and all that. They came in, and it was a big deal. It was in Newburyport. So, after that, my buddy was on the run, and we would go sneak and see him. And one day I was staying with him, and he's like, "Hey, come here. I want you to try this." He's like, "Don't tell anyone else. I let you try this." And it was heroin. And yeah, after that, like heroin was 10 times cheaper than the perks and hit 10 times harder. So like after I did that, I was like, wow, why would I do perk 30s now?
Right.
You know.
So how long, what did that look like? Did you end up in jail, rehab? What happened from there?
I think the first thing that started to happen was just more of like the relationships started to deteriorate. My family who I didn't have a good relationship with anyways, but I had a little sister I was very close with, and once I started doing the heroin, like me and her really split apart. Childhood friends that, I used to hang out with kind of split apart with them. And then, I started noticing, I'm like, I think I have a problem.
Right.
But I'm different.
Right.
So it started, I was young. I went to a detox. I got to check myself in the detox for a week. And then just to say I did, and then I knew I was going to use it as soon as I got out. So I'd do that a couple of times, and then I just kept getting worse and committing more crimes to pay for the habit and to fit in.
Right.
Because when we were young, we thought that was like the thing to do, and then jail happened. Jail. Then it's just the cycle. It's jail, detoxes, rehab, jail. It just is like a never-ending cycle.
Yeah.
So,
what was the longest that you ever do like any significant time, or was it just lots of in and out?
It was just like petty stuff. Like I wasn't like I thought I was Tony like Soprano or something,
right.
but I was like it'd be 3 months, then a month, and just little stupid stuff.
3 months is still like
one night.
Feels,
one night in jail is no good,
Yeah, definitely. So how many rehabs do you think it took?
For me, it took like a lot,
Yeah.
But I can say this: I didn't give up, And if I look back, it's I've probably been to 15 detoxes, and then that's not counting like the psych wards.
Yeah.
I would con my way into so I could have somewhere to sleep.
Yeah.
For a week before I back out on the streets.
Yeah.
So a whole lot.
Wow.
A whole lot.
That's a lot to go through before 22.
Yeah, exactly.
Quite a story. So, tell us about that last time, you know what I mean? What did it take
So
for
what?
you to really realize what this was you needed to do?
So I think, you know, as my drug use got worse, and drinking too, like hand in hand, like everything just started to get worse, and like those kids I wanted to fit in with, and I thought they were like my really good friends. Like after a year or two, like they're nowhere to be found anymore. You know, so before it was like fun. It was like me, drugs, drinking, and the friends. You know, and then it just became Eric with the drugs and the drinking, and you know, then I get desperate. I start, what do they call it? I start taking hostages, like girlfriends. Like I start getting girlfriends and like, you know, making them be miserable with me.
Right.
So like my last time, you know, the fast forward, like I was just like getting and drinking and drugging every day until I'm about like 22. And, you know, my last month I had nowhere to go. My father was like, you know, you can't come here, dude. Like I would not listen to anything. I was so selfish, you know, so selfish. I couldn't even I couldn't pick up after myself. I couldn't do anything, you know, because I was just so gone at the time.
Yeah.
And I was sleeping in a car with one of my ex-girlfriends, and it was winter out, and like we didn't have gas to keep the car on. So I just remember like we were freezing, and I had rosary beads from like one of the rehabs or jails I went to, and I remember I'm like, I'm gonna pray. Like I'm just gonna pray because like I have nothing else left in my life. Like I've tried everything. I've tried just the weekend drinking. I thought I could just sniff heroin on the weekends. Didn't work. Like I've tried everything, and I tried to manipulate my way, and it just didn't work. So I prayed, and you know, it didn't happen that next day. But I ended up. I couldn't stay in her car for any longer because she had her own life, and she had to do whatever she had to do. So I had nowhere to go, and I remember I'm like, I gotta section myself. Like I gotta do something because I have nowhere to go. I have no more insurance. I don't have anything. And I called my mom. I was like, Mom, if you let me sleep on the couch, I promise you I'll section myself. With motives behind that, because I thought, oh, I'm gonna get sent to Matsy. They're gonna give me a bunch of Suboxone, and in 2 weeks I'm gonna be good. I'll find a place. And you know, I slept there that night. Early that morning, I went through her medicine cabinet, and she had like a bad cough, so she had promethazine and codeine, and I drank all of her codeine. And she's sick, you know what I'm saying? She needed it. I drank all of it. I filled it with water, put it back, went to court thinking I'm going to Matsy, and I surrendered myself, and then I'm waiting there for 2 hours, and they're like, all right, Nelson, Bridgewater. So I'm like, oh, I don't want to go to Bridgewater State Prison. I don't want to do that. Like that wasn't the intention. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna go home because this isn't what I want. And they're like, you can't just go. Like you're stuck here, bro. You're going. So that was my last time using. I got sent to Bridgewater, and it honestly saved my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy. My boyfriend was in Bridgewater quite a few times.
Was he?
He passed away, yeah.
Yeah, it's no good.
Yeah. So, I mean, you go to Bridgewater. How long were you there?
I was there for 45 days.
45 days. Okay. And do you think that while you were there, did you like, you know, an AA commitment come in? Like, did something hit you differently while you were there that time? Or was it when you left or? It was
while I was there. I remember, and like before going to Bridgewater, I was popping in and out of AA meetings because, you know, that's like was the cycle. So I knew a little bit. And I remember the night. So one day I meet up with my caseworker in Bridgewater, and, you know, I have nowhere to go. So I'm like, I want to go to a halfway house. I've never done it. And prior to meeting with the caseworker, I'm sitting in the dorm with the other people there. And they're all like older dudes, and you know, it's like their 17th time there. And they're telling me, no matter what you do not go to the Ryan house because you can't talk to girls, you can't bring your phone, you can't get high, you can't sneak this and that. And they're like, whatever you don't go there. And me still with that mentality, I want to fit in. I'm like, I'm not going there. Not a chance. If they tell me not, I go and I meet up with my caseworker. It was weird. Like probably an hour after that conversation, he's like, I found you a bed, but it's at the Ryan house. And I'm like, wow, that would happen to me. And I was like, honestly, I don't think I'm going to go. I told him I'll just go home, this and that. And that night, I was on a top bunk, and there was just like there was a heater above me, and I had a sinus infection at the time because I was sniffing all the drugs.
Yeah. And
I just remember like I was so sick, the heat was hitting me. I started crying because I couldn't breathe. Yeah. And I was so, it was a God shot because I was so miserable.
Desperate.
And I remember just walking to the bathroom and just like looking out the window. It's all barbed wire and stuff. And I'm just like, something hit me. I'm like, I'm going to go to the Ryan house, you know? And like, that's like, that day is when I knew, I was like, I have a chance, you know what I'm saying? For some reason, something just kicked. And I was like, I have a chance. I think I can.
Like maybe if I do what I'm told, this can work.
Maybe if I get at them, maybe if I don't listen to myself or listen to these other people, like for once, maybe I'll have a chance.
Do something different.
Yeah.
I'm going to do something different.
Exactly.
It's a really good story. So, you went to the Ryan house and everything, I mean...
yeah, I went to the Ryan house and I was still the same Eric. You know what I'm saying? I hit there and I didn't listen.
Yeah.
I repeatedly would just, you know what I'm saying? But the best thing was I went there being myself. That's what was different. You know what I'm saying? I went there and I didn't...
You weren't pretending to be someone else.
Exactly. You know, I still had obviously character defects. I was horrible at everything, all rules, this and that. But, you know, something, you know, I think it was God, obviously, but, you know, helped me. And the staff could see that. You know what I'm saying? They know that my behaviors weren't like intentional at that moment.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
It's part of it. Yeah.
And with that, like I was able to, you know, and I could listen for, you know, they would say, Eric, you can't do this because this, you gotta do this and that. And I started listening.
Yeah.
And, you know, I started to be able to grow, you know.
Awesome. Well, is there anything else that you want to tell us? We have a couple seconds left. And
honestly, just, you know, sobriety and recovery's changed my life. You know, I grew up, you know, thought I was not smart enough and not good enough. And you know, I changed my life, and I'm have a college degree. I own my own business, and I can look in the mirror and be all right with myself.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It was awesome to hear your story.
Thank you.
So thanks everyone for watching, and we will see you next time. Have a great evening.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.